Enable our athletes to get the best results by coaching them in the workout. If you spent your 30-40 minutes of your class getting them warmed up, teaching them points of performance, and then the workout starts and you don't give them any coaching, that's where it matters most. That's where we really need to dig deep, dive in, and have a plan. All right, so let's get into it. In-WOD coaching in this session, what to do when the workout starts, some strategies, how to see and cue everybody, and some homework. So what to do when the workout starts? Be busy. So you got to be moving around as much as possible. So you don't want to be standing still. We don't want to be just timekeeping. We got to be busy, busy, busy. And that looks like loads and loads of different things. So you want to cue absolutely everybody. You don't want people walking out of the class not having personal interactions with you as the coach. If you come to an end of a day, end of an hour, and you're like, ooh, I never really spoke to them, and it's awkward, you're like, uh-oh, then you know you've missed it. You've missed it, right? So you got to cue everybody. Cue the points of performance you coached. So if you've been following the previous sessions and you've been coaching maybe 3 things, or picking a main focus point, or building off a previous session, then you know that your points of performance that you've covered in the teaching section of the specific class are the things you go after first. So go after them, and then if there's anything that's after that, like something that's unsafe, then you go and cue that one. All right. Then after that point, well, not after that point, there's always should be even balance of correctional cues and then praise, motivation, congratulating, good movement, and helping them find intensity and encouraging them. So you don't want to be just, excuse me, cueing everybody all the time on their faults. You want to be balancing that out well. So if you're hitting somebody with knees out, knees out, knees out, knees out, elbow lock out in the finish, stand up straight before you lower the bar and a jerk, it's like, come back to them and give them some praise. Say, well done on knees out. Well done on getting the elbow locked out. I love that elbow position. Great job. Front rack looks really nice. Give them some praise to follow on, because if you just keep beating them down, they're going to leave beat down. So yeah, just don't keep beating them down all the time with cues. Think about praise as well. Balance it out. Personally, I always like to give more praise than cues. If I can give more praise than cues, then I know my people are feeling good and they're happy. And then when I do cue them, they're going to be more responsive. And so try and balance that out. Give them more praise than cues. Every workout needs an in-WOD strategy to ensure you get to everyone for every movement. And that's what this session is about. So we're going to figure out in-WOD strategies to help C and Q and just get to everybody all the time. And it's just, there's just a consideration that you need to make before you go into a class. It's not, here's the class, here's the workout, and then you plan up until the workout starts and then that's it. Like, you've got to plan your strategy as well. And the strategy doesn't have to be like, on 0 I'm going to this, on 1 I'm going to this. It's just more about awareness, and it's like, okay, well, this is what time I know I have, this is how I should use it, this is where I got to be, and it's like a loose plan, but you're aware of it. Okay, so if you cue someone, watch them do a rep. And that basically means, don't say, keep your heels on the ground and walk away. It's keep your heels on the ground. Yeah, maybe you can do a little bit more. Yeah, that's a bit better. Okay, cool. And then walk off. And then you'll see here at the last one, make sure to come back and check them later. So if I've given somebody a heels down cue, 7 minutes later in the workout, I'm going to go back around and say, oh, nice job, nice work on the heels. They're still down. Great work. Or your heels are lifting again. Can you push them down again? Well done. There you go. All right. So just make sure that you cue someone, watch them do a rep. All right. Then give them extra feedback, like I just said there a second ago. It's like, watch them the heels down. I think you could do a little bit more, or that's great, or maybe try pushing to outside of your heel a little bit more. If they're not doing what you need them to do, you have to think about a different way to say it. Like, lift your toes off the ground. It's going to get their heels down. It's a terrible thing to tell them, but if you're trying to get their heels down, it's like, get their heels down, lift your toes off the ground, cool. Now put your toes down and keep your heels down. You know, it's like, give them that feedback, give them the opportunity to try it. But don't force an extra fault out of it. It's like, force the extra fault to get the correction and then get them to find the full movement properly. Then leave them alone to give them time to work on it. So don't just stand there over them. For example, like a really complex movement like a clean or a snatch, and they're not getting it. You could stand there all day like, no, that's not it. No, try harder. No, you missed it again. And then they're just going like, piss off, leave me alone. You know what I mean? So it's like, give them a cue, keep your elbows straight until after your legs drive on the clean, until after hip extension or whatever way you want to say it. And then it's like, oh, keep your arms straight for longer. Okay, cool. And then they're getting to the part they're pulling early still. And then you could easily say, okay, I'm going to leave that with you. Just focus on trying to keep your arms straighter for longer, or focus on driving your legs first, then pulling your arms, whatever you want to say. And then I'm going to come back and have a look. All right, so then leave them alone, let them work on it, and then come back to them a few minutes later and see if they're still doing it. Okay? All right, so here's some factors to consider when you're looking at a workout and you're saying, how do I get to everybody, and how do I make sure that everybody's moving well and getting the praise they need to keep pushing? Are they finding the right intensity? So on and so forth, right? So the layout is a big factor. So is the layout of the room suitable for you to get to everybody? So this is like, it's just one of the factors. These aren't standalone. They're all combined together to give you an idea of, all right, what way do I need to approach this? Okay. Time domain. Is it a 5-minute workout? Is it a 90-second workout? Is it a 40-minute workout? How long have I got to get to people? Transitions. Is there multiple transitions? Are you doing 4 reps of each thing, or are you doing 40 reps of each thing? If there's loads of transitions, it's going to be hard. If there's not many transitions, it's going to be a little bit easier. Is there any transitions at all? Are they going to be just on a rower for 5 minutes? Are they just going to be doing weightlifting for 10 seconds? These things matter, right? How many times will each athlete do each movement? So that's pretty much the same thing as the transitions, the amount of reps, time domains, that kind of thing, right? But it's a little bit, all right, this is a direct question. How many times will each athlete do each movement? All right, we've got a 10-round workout. We've got 2 movements. They're going to do each movement 10 times, but they're only doing 3 reps each time they're on the movement. That's not a lot of time. How do I figure this out? How long will they do each movement for? So if they're doing a 500-meter row, how long is that going to take? It's going to take, like, let's say in a workout environment, it's going to be 1:45 to 2:15, right? So they're like, okay, well, they're going to be on the row for that long, and I've got 10 athletes. I'm going to be able to get all 10 athletes covered in 2 minutes, potentially. Or I'm going to say, no, I'm only going to cover 5 in that 2 minutes, and then I'll get everybody in the next round if there is a next round. If there's not a next round, you have to get everybody. And it's like, okay, well, I got to think about really quick cues that I can give, or what I'm looking for specifically in that moment. And then how many queuing opportunities is there per athlete? So that's like what I just said. There's 10 people in the class. You got 500-meter row. Another example is we're doing 10 singles of a back squat. So if we're doing 10 singles of a back squat and you've got 10 people per class, that's 1 opportunity per person. Like, you got 1 opportunity there per person. You have 10 lifts and you got 10 people. You got to get them all lifting. If they're all lifting at the same time, then you're like, okay. Or if they're lifting sporadically, if you're like, all right, lift whenever you want, and it's a 10-minute window, and they're only doing 10 sets, like, you could miss 6 people in that class. So this is where you need to have a little bit more thinking of it, and you want to have a little bit more control. So I'm going to talk about that next. And this is where lifting under time constraints is important for queuing athletes, right? It keeps it under your control so you can make sure that everybody gets the best experience. I prefer to lift when I'm in a class. I prefer to lift when other people are lifting. I prefer to lift. I also prefer when people are looking at me, but that's specific. That just helps me perform better. Other people don't like the pressure of that, right? So it's trying to think about where is the best time and how can we figure out what is the best way and strategy to get to people here, right? So let's have a look at some workouts. This one, we got 6 sets of 3 deadlifts. So if you've got, let's say it's 12, I'm going to work between the 10 and 12 range here, right? Because they're the optimal class sizes. And if you're prepping for an L4, that's the optimal class size for an L4, right? So it's 10 to 12 athletes. So if you've got 10 to 12 athletes, obviously if you've got 18 to 24 athletes, you got to think about different strategies to how to get around to people, right? But if I've got 12 athletes and I've got 6 lifts and 6 sets of 3, I'm going to break the group in 2, and I'm going to get Group 1 to lift on, let's say, 0, and Group 2 to lift on 130, and we're going to lift every 3 minutes after that, and I'm going to work my way around the group and make sure I get to everybody. So if I've got 6 people in Group 1 and I have 6 people in Group 2, I'm going to get everybody once, and that's it, just once. So if I give somebody a cue once, then I got to be sure that there's a little quick check-in later on. So for instance, the way I'd like to do this is that I go, everybody's, let's say you got a room and you got 2 straight lines, and you've got group 1. I never usually go a line and a line, especially for lifting days. I like to give it a bit of space between lifts. So what I'll do is I'll go on down one line. I'll go 1 2 1 2 1 2 all the way to the back, and then start with the opposite 2 1 2 1 2 1. So then the people opposite each other are never lifting together, and the people front and behind are never lifting together. So it's always like a stagger down the room. And then what I'll do is then I'll work my way down the room from the front. Generally, that's probably the way I'd go, right? So I'd say, okay, athlete 1 on the right is going in group 1. I'm going to stick with them, going to give them a cue on their 3 reps, and then athlete 1 on the front left row, they're in group 2, so I'm going to stay with them, and then I'm going to move to the next row, and then I'm going to move to the other side, and then I'm going to move to the next row, and then to the other side, and then move to the next row, and the other side, and I can work my way down the back of the room. By the time I get to the back of the room, I've given everybody a cue. In this situation, it's probably the best thing you can do, right? Now, what you should do in the 90 seconds that's left, 90 seconds between lifts, so 3 deadlifts, let's say 3 deadlifts takes 20 seconds, right? You've got 1 minute and 10 seconds to give your cue to the athlete you've just watched, and then potentially go and talk to another athlete you've already cued and say, how did that go? Did you try that? How did it feel? So it allows you to keep connecting back in, and then it's like, well, I've given you a cue, and now I'm checking back in to see how you're getting on. If I just give you a cue and I never come back to you, what was the point of the cue in the first place? All right. So there's something that we need to consider for this workout. Now, I want to clarify, there's no right or wrong ways to do this. It's simply just, what do you think suits best to try and get to all your athletes, give them a cue or praise, and then get some feedback to them and revisit in the situation. So as we get through different workouts, you'll see how these apply to different things and how you can start thinking about them differently. Okay. Okay, complete as many rounds as possible in 8 minutes of 2 wall walks, 2 deadlifts. First thing I want to be doing is trying to decide how long will it take per round. So the weight is heavy, kilos. Oh man, I'm brutal kilos here. It's like 100 kilos and for women and 140 for men. I think that's the conversion, 102 and 143, something like that. If you're in kilos, if you're in pounds, you're good. You can see that. So it's heavy, right? It's really, really heavy. Like they might do 2 touch and go to start, and then you're probably down to singles after that, and the deadlifts. And the wall walks should be pretty quick for the whole session, right? So you're talking maybe, if we're pushing, let's say 10 seconds for the wall walks and 20 seconds for the deadlifts as they get later rounds. Let's say maybe 15 and 15, so 30 seconds per round on average, let's say, right? So that's going to be 16 rounds that they're going to do in the workout. So I'm just going to write this down so I can remember, right? So you got 16 rounds. We got, on average, we're talking 30 seconds per round. And then if we've got 16 rounds and we've got 12 athletes, that means you can get 1 athlete each round, potentially. So you could be different ways to do this, right? You can stay with 1 athlete and do 2 wall walks and 2 deadlifts with them. And you watch them do 2 wall walks, you watch them do 2 deadlifts. Once they've done that, you try and give them a cue for the wall walk. It could be praise, it could be a little motivational cue, it can be a technical cue, it can be a point of performance, it can be anything that you've covered in the class or anything else you want to throw in that you think is going to help them. 2 deadlifts, same thing. Watch them, give them feedback on it, and then move on to the next athlete. If you did that and you stayed with 2 wall walks, 2 deadlifts per athlete, you would probably need to start with your slowest athletes first. Because if you don't start with your slowest athletes, you might not get to them by the end. I'm thinking out loud now. What I want to start, I'd start with my fastest athletes first so I can get them done with loads more time in the bank. Whereas if I start with my slower athletes, I might end up spending a minute with them and then I've lost a minute of an 8-minute workout. The faster athletes will go through it really, really quickly. So it's like, okay, well, that's 20 seconds. Now I still got loads of time left. So hit your faster athletes first and then work your way to your slower athletes and then get back to your faster athletes who have definitely slowed down at that point towards the end. So if you've got 8 minutes and you're potentially thinking that your faster athletes are going to get 16 rounds done, that's potentially leaving you with 4 extra rounds in the bank for the faster athletes who you want to get to twice because you want to see if their movement breaks down. Whereas the slower athletes generally I'm going to say generally, they stay the same pretty much all the time. Because generally they're slower because they're not as fit or they're not as technically competent. So then their movement is not pretty shit at the start, but it's not as good at the start and stays not as good at the end. Whereas the faster, fitter athletes can tend to start really nice and then towards the end start to get sloppy to try and hang on to their speed, right? So there's a consideration that I want to make in that one is stay with an athlete for 2 and 2 and then start with the faster athletes, give them a cue on both, and then try and get back to them again before the workout finishes. All right. I'm going to talk about different strategies as we go on, right? So each workout's going to have a different strategy, and there's going to be different things that you can consider and think about. Next workout, as many reps as possible in 14 minutes. Okay, so we've got a long chipper workout. This is the open workout. So we got the thing to consider here is that if you've got 12 athletes, you need to figure out how long are they going to spend on each section, right? So let's say 60 cal row, 2 minutes, right? 2 to 3 minutes. 50 toes to bar. Let's for argument's sake, just say 2 to 3 minutes again on 50 toes to bar. The 40 wall ball shots, like you're talking a minute and a half to 2 minutes. Some athletes are definitely going to go above this, right? We know that. 30 cleans, you're talking another 2 to 3 minutes. And then the 20 ring muscle ups, another 2 to 3 minutes, right? So you've got, let's just say, 2 to 4 minutes on each section, and you've only got your athletes there once. That means you've got to cue every athlete on the rower. You've got to cue every athlete on the toes to bar. You've got to cue every athlete on the wall ball shots. Sorry, you don't have to, but this is how I would do it, and this is how I suggest that you do it, is that you want to give everybody some attention on every piece of equipment here. You don't want to just give one person a cue on the rower and then you're watching them all row for 4 minutes and then you're on the toes to bar and you give another athlete a cue. It's like, keep yourself busy. Get to everybody. Like, there's loads of opportunity there to get to everybody. Use it. Use the opportunity. So if you're on the row for 2 to 3 minutes and you've got 12 athletes, you might not get to everybody, right? But if the layout is set, because you remember I said the layout here, if all the rowers are laid out in a specific, let's say they're in a straight line, and you can start at rower 1 and you give that athlete cue, and then you move on to the next one cue, next one cue, next one cue, next one cue, and by the time you get down 2 or 3 athletes are finished on the rower, then you go to toes to bar for them. And then you're with them for the toes to bar, and then you work your way back through the line as people start filtering over to the toes to bar, and you stay with them on the toes to bar and you get to the end, and then you move on to the wall ball shots and you're moving them back down the line again. So like there's a format to this, and there's a strategy that you got to think about. It's like, okay, well, I got to stay with everybody in the rower. There's a couple of people might finish the rower before I get to the end. If they do, I'll follow them to the toes to bar, get them first on the toes to bar. I'll work my way down the line on the toes to bar. Somebody else might finish and move to the wall balls before I get there. I'll move to the wall balls with them. If everybody's still on toes to bar and I've cued everybody, I'll go back to the first people I cued earlier and try and see if they're still doing what I get them a cue for, or has their movement deteriorated. And then you're on to wall ball shots. So if you've cued everybody on toes to bar and somebody moves to the wall ball, go with them. If you haven't cued everybody on toes to bar and one person moves to the wall ball, leave them on it for a few reps. Let them settle in. They're probably going to take a break anyway. So don't walk over, stand beside them, and then leave yourself standing there watching them rest. Okay? So stay with the toes to bar for a few seconds, and then it's like, okay, I've got 3 or 4 athletes on wall balls now. I'll move over to the wall balls, give them all a cue, and then everybody starts to filter into the wall balls, and then we're all there, cool. And then somebody goes on to the cleans. Let them have it. They're probably doing singles. They're going to take an age, 2 to 4 minutes. It's cool. Stay over there. I'm going to stay here on the wall balls, cueing people and getting back and re-cueing people before I move off to the cleans. Then you're on the cleans, same situation, and then you're on to the ring muscle-ups if anyone gets there. Something to consider here is I wouldn't even worry about checking the time on this one. It'd be more so watching the athletes and seeing where they are in the room. Are they all moving on? If 2 or 3 people move on to the next station, then I'll move on to the next station with them, give them some cues, and I could potentially give them all, let's say there's 3 people on the wall balls. I give 3 wall ball cues and everybody else is on the toes bar. I can go back and give some more cues on toes bar and then come back to the wall balls. Now there's 6 people on them. I can re-cue 3 athletes, give 3 new cues, and then I can stay on the wall balls then. But it's not just knowing that you have a strategy in your mind that you're going to use and you're going to think of before you go into the workout, so that you're not just leaving people on their own and you're just not scrambling around wondering. It's like, it's very clear in your head, this is where I'm going, This is who I'm talking to, and this is when I'm talking to them. All right. Every 2 minutes for 10 rounds complete. 2 to 250 meter row, 10 med ball cleans. All right, so how long are they going to be on the row for? Going to be on the row for less than a minute, 40 seconds. You're talking 40 seconds row? Yeah, because it's high intensity, right? Every 2 minutes for 10 rounds. So for 40 seconds on the row and 10 med ball cleans, let's say it's 20 to 30 seconds. So 40 plus 25, you're talking a minute and 5 seconds, let's say on average per round. So a minute and 5 seconds, they're going to have 55 seconds rest. Okay, so it's important that I know how long they're going to be on the med ball cleans. It's only 20 to 25 seconds. It's going to be like, oh, well, I'm not going to be able to cue everybody there. So this is great because you got 10 rounds and you've got, let's say, 10 to 12 athletes. Let's go with 10 just to make this one easy for us, right? So 10 rounds and you've got 10 athletes. What you could do, first strategy, is stick with one athlete per round if you wanted. So if I said on round 1, I'm going to stick with athlete 1. I'm going to watch them do their work. Give them some cues, give them some motivation, make sure they're finding the intensity all the time, and then when they're finished, cool, I've got 50 seconds to talk to somebody else before they start the next workout. All right. Next group, I'm in athlete 2. Athlete 2 starts, bang, go on, finish, bang, 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 yeah, wow, done, really fast, loads of cues, loads of praise, loads of fixing, seeing, correcting, all that kind of stuff. Rest. In the rest period, go back to athlete 1. Athlete 1, how did you get on? How did it go? Did it feel the same? Did you slow down? Give them some questions. Ask them, did you keep the foot down? Did you find your extension in the med ball clean? How was the row? Did you finish your pull? Whatever cues you get them, this is an opportunity to go back and talk to them about it, right? Then you're into round 3 and you're on to athlete 3. Athlete 3, bang, done, finished. All right, athlete 2, how did you get on? And then it's just go back to the previous athlete. How did you go on? How did you go on? And if you've got time, you could go athlete 2, athlete 1, talk to everybody in between the heats, right? That's one way you could do it. Another way you could do it is you could get 2 athletes working, or 2 athletes when they're rowing, all right? So you've got athlete 1 and 2 beside each other, and you got athlete 1, you're hitting them with cues, athlete 2, you're hitting them with cues. You spend 20 seconds with each one, and then move on to the med ball clean. Right, cool, I'm going to go athlete 1 on the med ball clean, perfect. You could see 5 reps and you can move on. You can do 5 reps with the other athlete, and there you have 2 athletes done in 1 round. And then what will happen then is you'll get all 10 athletes done in 5 rounds. You can go back to the start and get them again. All right, so that's another strategy, is half the time, 20 seconds on each thing, 20 seconds on the rower, 5 reps on the med ball cleans. Can you give them a cue? Can you hit them something really, really quickly? This is where you got to think about your correctional cues at the start. You got to think about the praise. The praise is going to be linked to what you're seeing. So if you've coached balanced foot in the med ball clean from the bottom of the squat, it's like, watch out for the balanced foot, give them the cue, give them the praise. Well done, nice balanced foot, cool, move on to the next one. And it's like really quick fire cues, and you might not be giving tons of value here, but it's like, can you see something that they're not doing? Can you give them a cue on it? And then can you revisit it later on? So there's 2 different strategies you can use for that one workout where you can get everybody covered. Okay, 5 rounds for time. So this is a triplet. We've got 5 rounds. We've got 15 push jerks, 12 chest to bar pull-ups, 9 sumo deadlift high pulls. Okay, 15 push jerks, let's say it takes you 30 to 40 seconds. All right. Barbell is light, it's only 42.5 for men, 30 for women. So they should be able to move them unbroken. Okay. And then you're on to 12 chest to bar pull-ups. High skill gymnastics movement, probably doing these in 1 to 2 sets, potentially. Going based off the light and the barbell, the push jerks into the chest to bars, you don't want to have a big difference there, right? So chest to bars again, let's say if you're doing 2 sets, you could be taking up to 30 seconds. All right, because it takes like just over a second a rep sometimes for a chest to bar. Sometimes athletes can do 1 second per rep. So you could be talking, if someone's doing it unbroken, 12 to 15 seconds. If somebody's breaking into 2 sets, you're talking 15 to 30 seconds, right? And then you're on the sumo deadlift high pulls. These will get burny because the shoulders from the jerks and the pulling on the chest to bar. The sumo deadlift high pulls are probably going to be the hardest part of the workout. It's 9 reps. It's a light bar, but they'll be challenging. So they're probably going to be there. Again, you're probably thinking 1, I'd say 1, maybe 2 sets, but because it's just more from fatigue as the rounds go on, we might even go to 3 sets as fatigue goes on because they're nasty. So you're thinking, let's say it's 20 to 30 seconds every movement, every round. So that's a minute. So a minute per round. Oh, sorry, 20 to 30 seconds. Is that right? Did I say that right? You're talking about, let's say, a minute and a half per round. A minute and a half per round. You got 5 rounds. Someone do the maths there for me. That's 7.5 minutes, right? So let's say it's a 8 minute time cap. All right, so 8 minutes. How do you figure out how you're going to cue every athlete in this one? So what I'd be doing is, if I've only got 20 to 30 seconds on push jerks, you can see how quickly time is going to disappear on this one, and you could be stuck with one athlete for that time. If your cues aren't really quick to the points, short, specific and actionable, then you're going to get stuck with one athlete, and it could be for the 15 jerks, right? So it's like, can I stay with one athlete for 3 to 4 reps, move to the next one, 3 to 4 reps, move to the next one, 3 to 4 reps. Then that's your push jerks done. You've only done 3 athletes. Then everyone's moving to the rig and they're on chest to bar pull-ups. And it's like, okay, well, I'm going to move to the rig and I'm going to cue the next 3 athletes. All right. So you can work your way. Again, this sounds a layout. Imagine you've got all the barbells and the rig and they're going back and forth. This is easy because you can just work down the line and you can get everybody, no matter where they are in the room. You're just like, okay, next athlete, wherever they are, they move down. And that's a really good way to do it, because you're probably going to get to everybody at some point. You're just not going to get them for every movement. And that could be okay in this style of workout, okay? The other thing you could do is you could say, I'm going to stay with a group of athletes, let's say 4 athletes, 3 athletes maybe. If you've got a group of 12, let's just say 4 groups of 3, right? And you got the first 3 athletes at the front. You're going to say, I'm going to get them through the first round. And you're going to stay with that group of 3 for the first round. Get them on the jerks, get them on the chest bars, get them all on the sumo deadlift tie pulls. Then once you've done that, move to the next row. And you've got the next group of 3 athletes. And then you're going to go same thing. Bang, bang, bang. Cool. That's round 2 done. Now, the other thing is that you've got them 3 athletes. They finish round 1. The other athletes could be on round 3 already. Or they could be on round 1 still. So it depends. You're not really buying yourself time on this one, right? So it's very, very difficult in this scenario. Personally, what I like to do in these situations is 5 rounds for time. I know it's going to be a quick workout. I am going to my fastest athletes first, because they could be finished in 4.5 minutes and I haven't got to them because they're down the back. So I'm going to my fastest athletes first. I'm going straight there. I'm going to hit them with a cue, hit them with some praise, watch them do maybe a round, because their first round's not going to take very long. And then I'm going to move on to slower athletes after that. If I get everybody cued, I could potentially go back to the faster athlete before they're finished. Or I can have in my mind, you know what, I'm going to hit Jessica on round 1, on 0, on 3, 2, 1 go. I'm going to watch her do 15 jerks, 12 chest bars, and I'm going to leave her on the sumo deadlift side pulls. And then on the 3-minute mark or so, something around that, I'm going to go back, see where they are, and see if I can give her a few more cues somewhere else. And then I'm going to go back to everybody else. So being aware of how long this workout is going to take, how many people you have to cue, how many movements you have to cue, and then thinking about, oh, my fastest athletes are going to rip through this. I've got to get to them pretty quick here at the start, because I could potentially do the whole workout and not cue them at all because I got stuck with somebody who's slower. All right. Excuse me. So loads to consider here, right? And like I said at the start, there's no right or wrong answer. It's literally, are you thinking about every possible avenue? And there's probably things that I haven't mentioned today that I think about myself and other times, and you're going to think about at times. But the whole idea is that now we're thinking about it, that we're going into a workout, not just saying, oh, well, there's the workout, there's the plan, there's the teaching section, there's the warm-up, there's the cool down. When the workout starts, I'll just go cue everybody. Now we've got an idea. It's like, oh, I actually really should think about this. How long are athletes spending on movements? How many transitions is there? Are they going to be there for long? How many people have I got in the room? How many opportunities am I going to create? And then it's like, okay, well, now I know I only have, like in this workout, you might only cue somebody once. You know, it's like, but it's important that if you didn't consider that, you might miss people. All right. So that's why it's really important to just have a little think about the workout and say, okay, well, what am I going to do today? And there's your strategy. Okay. So that's going to help you see and correct more effectively. All right. So what stood out for you the most? I want you to put the answer to this question in the comment section of the Facebook post where this video is found. And then you're going to go in and do your homework. So in WOD coaching homework. I want you to answer the previous question in the comments on Facebook. Then I want you to start to plan your C and Q strategies based on the work. And I'm saying correct because it's C and Q. And I want you to think about praise as Qs as well. It's like I got to get to everybody and I got to say something to them all the time. Always use their name as well. Just want to put that out there. Always use their name. So start to plan your C and Q strategies based on the workout that you have in your hand. And here's your homework. Here's your practical homework. I want you to pick 3 different workouts. These could be 3 workouts you did in the past, 3 workouts you did in the future. But I want you to plan a strategy for each one and send it to me for a review. So plan the strategy, send me the workout, send me the strategy, and I'll have a look at it and see, is there something that you're not thinking about? Obviously, look, there's going to be things that you didn't think about. There's going to be things that you did think about that I wouldn't think about. And the feedback for me is like, have you considered this? Have you thought about this? This is really good. I like this. And it's just basically having a look to see if we can figure out, is there anything that you might have missed that you didn't consider? And there also, it might be worth saying in your, like you could do a video, you can write it, you can send a voice note. Like you can say, here's my strategy on a piece of paper, send it to me through DMs, and then it's followed with a voice note. I've considered this, this, and this, and this is why. And then I'm like, okay, well, now I'm in your brain and I can figure out, all right, well, that's what you were thinking, but you didn't think about this. Why didn't you think about this? Now, if I'm just looking at a piece of paper, I'm like, did he think about this? Did she think about this? Probably not, but I'm going to tell you anyway. All right? So it might just help to send a video or a voice note along with it if you wanted. Once I've reviewed your workout cueing strategies, and I've given you feedback, and if you've made any adjustments, then go and post in the comment section of this video on Facebook again. So we want to just keep everything in that thread together so people can see different strategies for different workouts, okay? So yeah, once I've reviewed it and I've given you feedback and you've made any corrections or adjustments, and like we could go back and forth 3 or 4 times there, it doesn't have to be just once. So if I've given you feedback and you send it back to me, you send me a strategy, I give you feedback on it, you change it, you send it back to me, I give you something else, you change it, you send it back to me. It could go back on 3 or 4 iterations before it's ready to go post on Facebook. All right, so don't just take one cue, don't just take one piece of feedback and then go and post on Facebook. Make sure that it's all good. We both understand that we've exhausted all avenues and we figured it out and thought about it properly. And remember, I'll say it again, there's no right or wrong answer here. It's just, are you thinking about it now? And thinking about it is the important thing. And if you're doing that, you're already on the way to being a level 4 coach, if that is your aspirations. If it's not, you're already on the way to being a world-class coach. All right? Great stuff. Thanks, folks.